Jahshii's brother shot and killed in Grants Pen. The police have confirmed that David Clarke, who is said to be the brother of dancehall entertainer Clarke, popularly known as Jahshii, was shot and killed by gunmen in Grants Pen, St. Andrew on Saturday morning. Another man was shot and injured in the incident. The police confirmed that the attack happened about 2:05 on Saturday morning. Police report that the 29-year-old laborer David Clarke and another man were at a yard in Grants Pen when armed men approached and opened fire. Clarke was shot and killed, while the other man was injured. Everyone called him Mosiah. He is the one who ran his father's shop. He is a humble Yuta, nice Yuta, everybody love him, one Grants Pen resident Irie News Media TV. Nutsy Jahshii's father owned a shop, and Mosiah run it for him more time. He is the one who is always there. Even at 2 in the morning, you can go there and it is open. The Yuta no involved Ina anything, is a good Yuta. Jahshii's family has been under a dark cloud since June of this year when the DJ's name surfaced in an investigation regarding the death of businessman Omar Romy Wright. The born fighter DJ later surrendered himself to the police in the company of his attorneys, King's Counsel Peter Champagne and Richard Lynch. He was questioned and released by the cops about the June 7th murder. In July of this year, motor vehicle Jahshii owned was attacked by armed men on Constant Spring Road after an event to mark the artiste's birthday. 6 men, all members of the entertainer's entourage, were shot and injured. The entertainer reportedly left the event in another car and escaped injury. Jahshii in mourning after gunman killed his brother. Jamaican dancehall artist Clarke, stage name Jahshii, is in mourning after his brother was killed by gunmen this morning. His brother, David Clarke, and another man were at a yard in Grants Pen sometime after 2 this morning when armed men attacked them. David Clarke was fatally shot while the other man was injured. The police are investigating. Jahshii, his crew, and some relatives have been receiving threats since the June 7th murder of Omar Romy Wright. He was accused of being involved in this murder and was wanted for questioning. He surrendered himself but was released due to lack of evidence. On his birthday in July, all the men in his entourage were shot and injured by gunmen while he tried to celebrate in Constant Spring, Florida. Siblings stopped while driving mom's car on a freeway 200 miles from home. Gainesville, Florida, AP, a 10-year-old Florida boy and his 11-year-old sister who was running away to California drove 200 miles, 320 kilometers, in their mother's car before they were stopped by sheriff's deputies on an interstate highway, authorities said. The Alachua County Sheriff's Office says deputies spotted the sedan on Interstate 75 near Gainesville in North Florida just before 4 a.m. Thursday. The children's mother had reported it stolen and her children missing 4 hours earlier in Northport, a city in southwest Florida. The deputies, thinking that they were dealing with car thieves, drew their guns and ordered those inside the car to step out. Much to their surprise, deputies observed a 10-year-old male driver exit the vehicle along with his 11-year-old sister, the department said in a statement. The children told deputies the girl had been upset that their mother had taken away her electronic devices for misbehaving, so the boy was driving her to California. The children were interviewed by detectives, who said there was no indication they had been mistreated by their mother or anyone else in the home. The mother declined to press charges and the children were released to her. The names of the mother and children were not released. Gunmen posing as police kill 3 people, including brothers. Kingston, Jamaica. Jamaica police today said gunmen, posing as police officers, shot and killed 3 people, including 2 brothers, in St. Andrew. They identified the victims as 28-year-old Mason Alex Orlando Ricketts, 31-year-old Nava Fatah Ricketts, also a Mason, and Ricardo Dwight Henry, otherwise called Rasta, a 48-year-old delivery man. Henry is reported to be a cousin to the brothers. Police said that during the early hours of Saturday, at least 3 gunmen with rifles and posing as police officers entered the premises and took the 3 men from their dwelling. They were led at gunpoint to another dwelling on the premises, where they opened gunfire, hitting all 3 men in the upper body and killing them on the spot. The gunmen then made their escape on foot in the area. Jamaica recorded 1,498 murders last year, and so far this year, the authorities have registered more than 1,008 killings. Editorial: Jamaica needs help. National Security Minister Dr. Horace Chang needs to be more explicit about the targeted approaches that he says the government is using to tackle the illicit trade in illegal firearms and drugs. Dr. Chang cited as evidence of a more robust approach to the problem, the Firearms Prohibition, Restriction and Regulation Act, 2022, major amendments to the Proceeds of Crime Amendment Act, 2019, and the expanded focus of the Jamaica Customs Agency in securing our borders. Success here will depend on how vigorously laws are enforced and how customs is equipped to deal with the problem. We cannot overstate how poor Jamaica is at law enforcement. Mere days after U.S. President Joe Biden named Jamaica among drug-producing and transit nations, Dr. Chang told the 130-plus member International Drug Enforcement Conference, IDEC, in the city of Montego Bay earlier this week, of the robust approaches Jamaica is taking to deal with illicit drugs and arms. This may have sounded impressive to an international audience, but with 80% of murders being committed with a gun, it will take more to convince the local population that any of the strategies employed by the government are indeed working or that the international cooperation being sought from countries like the United States is bearing fruit. We do appreciate that some information will be kept confidential, but Jamaicans who live in fear of the next attack in their community want to be assured that the expanded role of the customs agency, for example, will lead to fewer firearms flowing into the country which ultimately find their way into the hands of criminals. Supply of guns. Has the Jamaica Customs Agency been effective in interrupting the supply of guns at our border? The fact is that small villages in Jamaica where traditionally the gun was only seen on television, are now part of the spread of death and mayhem through the efforts of armed criminals. Prime Minister Andrew Holness has seized every opportunity in regional and international fora to talk about the devastating effect of illegal arms on small islands and how violence is stifling national growth. He continues to appeal for help while acknowledging that weapons smuggling is intertwined with drug trafficking. If the U.S. government is really serious about helping the region, all it really needs to do is to plug the pipeline that is arming criminals in Jamaica and elsewhere. Last year, an investment of $73 million was established by the United Nations in collaboration with the government to establish the Salient program in Norwood, St. James. It was billed as one leg of the fight against illicit gun trade. But has it interrupted the flow of guns and ammunition? Is St. James a safer place for its efforts? The jury is still out on how successful this program has been in meeting its objectives. There have also been campaigns like Operations Get Every Illegal Gun targeting guns and gunmen, as well as a bump in the rewards paid for illegal gun information filtered through Crime Stops. None of those efforts appear to be enough. Jamaica needs help to stop the guns from coming in. That is the message Dr. Chang needs to convey at every opportunity. But can the U.S. government realistically be expected to take on the gun manufacturers? One thing is for sure, the problem cannot be solved by political posturing and promises. There has to be a policy decision to demand greater accountability of weapons manufacturers, and there has to be targeted interruption of smuggling efforts. The Biden administration should not squander this opportunity to help its neighbors escape this epidemic of gun violence, for their betterment will also be America's benefit.